Technology Transfer and Extension, the Philippine Normal University, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Technological University of the Philippines, Rizal Technological University, Philippine State College of Aeronautics, Elohio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, Marikina Polytechnic College, formed the PASUC NCR Research Consortium. In the 2014 conference organized by the consortium, several higher education institutions have shown interest in joining the consortium. The executive committee approved the expansion of the consortium membership to broaden and vitalize the promotion of research, bring forth excellent research undertakings, build strong research network among universities and institutions, and cultivate an environment of quality scholarship not only in the National Capital Region, but also in the entire country. Thus, the PASUC NCR Research Consortium is now known as the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium.
All right, so that's PHERC and APCoRE. This webinar is brought to you by the APCoRE and PHERC, and welcome to our webinar series brought to you by APCoRE and PHERC. Let us have a few minutes of silence for a prayer to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dinig mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa mandulubin, di ka masisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng pagaw, ay hinatang tulang awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagkinig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang ay magdidinig. Luman ang araw ng warhagin pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya na magpay pag-amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
All right, to guide us with this webinar, we have a few reminders for everyone. So we would like to ask everyone to mute your audio and disable the video when joining the Zoom meeting. And the forum will be locked 15 minutes after the forum begins. Latecomers will not be entertained. And participants can ask the questions by typing the question in the Zoom chat box. And please, we would like to ask you also to include your name and affiliation. And the moderator later on will share the questions to the speaker and during the question and answer. And to those who wish to ask questions live, type in the chat box live question and your full name and affiliation. The moderator will call you and our technical committee will unmute your microphone. Participants who fail to abide the terms and conditions will be asked to leave from the Zoom meeting. And later on, there will be a post-evaluation link shared and posted before the end of the webinar. And please stay until the end. So this webinar is open to all. However, only active APCoRE and or PHERC members will be given the e-certificates. And those who are not yet members, please visit the website www.apcore-inc.org or in the Facebook page of APCoRE and PHERC. Participants must accomplish the post-webinar evaluation, and the link for the evaluation will be shared before the end of the webinar and can only be accomplished until 8 p.m. tonight. Participants must like and share the APCoRE and PHERC page. On Facebook page, we have their www.facebook.com/apcore.official, www.facebook.com/PHERC. Participants may also take screenshots of their participation in the webinar and post in the comment section of APCoRE and PHERC FB page. You may also include the hashtag APCoRE-PHERC webinar series. Participants must accomplish the post-webinar evaluation and okay, all right, I mentioned that one a while ago. All right, so to welcome us all on this webinar, let us have the PHERC Vice President for Internal Affairs and Director of Publications Office of the Philippine Normal University, Dr. Marie Paz E. Morales, for her welcome message.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The directors of APCoRE or Asia Pacific Consortium researchers and educators, so officers and members of the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium or PHERC, to our speaker, Dr. Ting, who will be properly introduced in a little while, to all researchers, educators, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Maganda at mapagpalang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Amidst the pandemic, we are so blessed and lucky to have organizations like APCoRE and PHERC to provide a helping hand to our writing endeavors through webinars. We have had our one webinar last June 29 of this year, where we shared with you our insights on publication through a webinar entitled Publication 101. APCoRE likewise had many sharings through several webinars as well. This afternoon, the APCoRE Incorporated, in partnership with the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium, or PHERC, brings you another free, very timely, and relevant webinar for all researchers and educators and aspiring authors, entitled For Peace of Publishing, Sharing of Strategy and Recommendation of Tactics by our speaker, Dr. Ting. What peace do we need to be able to successfully hurdle all challenges in the publication processes and be able to successfully get published? We know that publication is a very basic requirement these days, especially for our professional growth and development, and for us to be able to do our share in knowledge creation and dissemination for improvement of knowledge economy. On our end, we wanted to extend and share to our fellow researchers techniques and the know-how to assist you in every way we can. So without further ado, let us brace ourselves as Dr. Ting shares with us the peace we need to get our articles published. So on behalf of APCoRE and PHERC, welcome to this webinar. We are hoping that you will gain and have a fruitful afternoon with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Morales, for the very inspiring welcome message. And to introduce our resource speaker, let us have the faculty of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, PHERC Board of Directors member, and APCoRE Management Committee member, Assistant Professor Cherry C. Pebre.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramsey Ferrer. Good afternoon, everyone. I am privileged to introduce to you our lecturer this afternoon. Dr. Hiram is an associate professor in the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism Management, UCSI University, Malaysia. He holds a PhD in marketing from University Malaysia, Sarawak, Malaysia. He is the vice president of MAG, or Marketing in Asia Group, scholar, and the chairman of the Sarawak Research Society, a scholarly NGO established to nurture rising researchers and provide platforms for networking and collaboration between academics and practitioners. Being the manager editor of the Asian Journal of Business Research, Index in Scopus and rank in ABCD, as well as the advisory board and the editorial board of a number of international journals, such as Journal of Global Marketing and British Food Journal. He has been actively involved in multidisciplinary behavioral research and consultancy projects, covering topics in Asia's or issues related to generation marketing, consumer behavior, tourism, healthcare service, gastronomy, and management. His papers are published in index journals, including Internet Research, European Journal of Marketing, Tourism Management, International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management, Tourism Economics, Marketing Intelligence and Planning, Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services, Journal of Strategic Marketing and Social Indicator Research. He has served as a guest editor of several journals, including British Food Journal, International Journal of Manpower, Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Research, Journal of Consumer Behavior, International Journal of Culture, Tourism and Hospitality Research, and European Business Review. He has won Best Paper Awards 7 times, a Young Service Researcher Award in 2014 and an Emerald Literati Award in 2018. He is the first and currently only Emerald Ambassador in East Asia, covering countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Japan, Korea, Brunei, and of course, the Philippines. He is also attached to other institutions as an adjunct professor or scientific committee member, such as Griffith University in Australia, Research Synergy Foundation in Indonesia, in Minh Chuan University in Taiwan. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest lecturer for today, Dr. Hiram Singh.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the kind opening word. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. Let me just try if I can share my slides. Oops. Okay. Okay. Once again, it is a privilege to be with all of you, Albert Online. And thank you for the invitation. As mentioned by Dr. Ramsey, if I pronounce your name correctly, this afternoon we are going to discuss the 4 P's of publishing, sharing of strategy and recommendation of tactics. Before that, I would just like to acknowledge and express my gratitude to Asia Pacific Consortium of researchers and educators, and Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium for having me in this webinar. Again, despite the pandemic and the movement restrictions we are currently having, it could be a blessing in disguise that we can meet here today. Still, we hope the pandemic will go away. Still, we hope the virus will go away. We just have to live in the moment, do what we can. And I believe this afternoon, it is an opportunity for me to meet all of you and to share with you something I have been doing passionately for some years. And I hope my sharing will be of help to all of you. There is a quote down there: try not to become a man of success, and rather try to become a man of value. For me, to put it simply, value simply means creating benefits for others. I mean, I can be, I may be a person who publishes a number of papers, but at the end of the day, it is better to be a man of value rather than a man of success. In other words, it will be better if I could help others to be able to publish as well. It's a joy to publish, but I believe it is a greater joy if we can help more people to publish. So that is my principle of life, and I believe this is why I'm here this afternoon. Again, thank you for Dr. Sherry for providing an introduction of myself. Basically, I'm just another ordinary person. I like to do research, and one of the things I do is to write and publish. So at the moment, I'm attached to quite a number of journals. It's all written there. Now, I have been thinking whether I should put this. My slides were only done this morning. I sent my slides to Dr. Dawn this morning. Last night I was thinking whether I should include this, but I put it here anyway. The purpose is not to show you that I am a publication expert. Okay, so I'm not an expert in publication. I'm still learning, and there are so many things that we can learn, we can unlearn, we can relearn. But to give you some perspectives, how much I am devoted to writing, to publishing, how much I'm curious about so many things, and how much I turn ideas, raw ideas, into something actionable, into something publishable. This is what I provide on the slide. This year, from January to August, in the last 8 months, I've managed to publish 24 papers. 19 of them are indexed in WOS. 13 of them WOS with impact factor. 23 of them are actually indexed in Scopus. 11 of them are in Q1. Now, if there is no, how should I put it? If I were to do it alone, I would have never achieved all this. And that is why this afternoon, when I shared about strategies, when I shared about tactics, you will realize that how we plan, how we work together with others, all these are very, very important. And therefore, it is no shame to admit that I would not be able to do it alone. You look at the numbers, you may think, wow, Hiram must be a publication expert. As I said earlier, I'm not an expert. I still get papers rejected from time to time. There are still so many things that I do not know. But this process is a learning process. And I find learning extremely rewarding. Not only I learn from reading, not only I learn from writing, I learn from working with others. And that is why, as I said earlier, many of these papers, in fact, most of these papers, I work together with my colleagues. And as a result, publication is more than just having a paper published. Publication, yes, it is about publishing paper, but it is also about working with others, learning something new, fulfilling that curiosity to know realities out there, to learn something more. And perhaps this is why I'm here this morning, to know all of you. So this afternoon, I hope my sharing for about an hour or so could inspire you to write, could inspire you to publish. It is not possible to teach you how to write in 1 hour. Writing is a very subjective matter. It will require hours. It will require practice. It is a continual process to learn, to write better, to publish, and to publish in good or top journals. It requires time. It requires practice. So if this sharing could inspire you to write, to publish, I would consider my job done. But of course, this webinar is just a beginning. The process continues. If you need any assistance, if you need any advice, feel free to approach me. I'll provide my email address. I'm on Facebook most of the times. So it is a learning process, and we hope this webinar could serve as a motivation, a stimulus to all of you, wherever you are, whatever stage you are in the writing process, it could be of help to you. Okay, so these are the journals that I manage directly. Asian Journal of Business Research, I'm the managing editor. The journal is currently indexed in Scopus. Journal of Halal Service Research is another journal published by Max Scholar. So I provide the link, so feel free to visit the website to learn more about the journal. I'm also attached with Sarawak Research Society, and SRS in short. This society currently is publishing 3 journals. Journal of Applied Structural Equation Modeling. This journal is currently under review by Scopus. There are another 2 journals, Journal of Marketing Advances and Practices, and Journal of Responsible Tourism Management. Again, the links are provided. Feel free to visit the website. Now, apart from the journals which I manage, my colleagues and I also manage special issues. So in the past 2 or 3 years, perhaps 2 years, we have managed and we are managing 12 special issues. So if you can look at these journals, for example, I started with British Food Journal. This special issue is already completed. The whole issue has been assigned a volume and a number, and it has been published. So again, this may tell you my dedication, my commitment to publishing, to use this as an avenue to advance knowledge, to disseminate knowledge, and also to get more researchers, especially in ASEAN regions, to be involved in the advancement of knowledge, and also to be able to publish in one of these good journals or top journals. These are some of the special issues which are still ongoing. One of them is the Journal of Consumer Behavior. It is, I believe, a Q1 journal in Scopus, SSCI 1.7, if I'm not mistaken. It is a special issue I work with my friend in Malaysia and also my friend in Australia. Next to it is another special issue from the International Journal of Culture, Tourism, and Hospitality Research. It is a journal I work with my friends in the US and also in Taiwan and also in Malaysia. So if you have any papers related to online behavior, that is for Journal of Consumer Behavior, or any paper related to coffee, tea, and tourism, that is for International Journal of Culture, Tourism, and Hospitality Research, feel free to submit. Or maybe you want to email me first to get some comments before submitting to the submission system. Apart from that, another special issue ongoing, Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology, definitely a Q1 journal, SSCI Impact Factor 2.7, if I'm not mistaken. Another journal which I work with my colleagues in Taiwan. Next to it, the British Food Journal, a special issue I work with my colleagues at UCSI University. So once again, if you have any paper related to AI, AIoT application, or food consumption, food waste, sustainable food practices, SDGs, these are the papers that we are looking at. Again, you can always submit your papers to the journal's regular issues. Special issues are on special topics. And since I'm one of the guest editors, at least, we want some papers from ASEAN. We want some papers from the Philippines. We don't want papers, from US, from UK all the time. Yes, we know there are prolific researchers from Australia, from UK, from US, from Hong Kong. But we know there are many, many good researchers in ASEAN as well. So being a guest editor, even though we must maintain research rigor, paper quality, but at least we want to give chance to researchers in this region. Again, if you have any questions, write to me or write to my colleagues. We are more than happy to assist. All right. Now, when we talk about publication, again, there are many, many ways to talk about it. For this 1 hour, obviously, I cannot, share with you too many things. I try my best to do what I can. Again, the purpose is not to teach you how to write. Rather, it is to inspire you. It is to motivate you to write and to publish. And one thing I would like to share with you is curiosity. I'm not born a researcher. I'm not born a writer, an author. But one thing for sure, you and I are the same. When we are born, when we grow up, we grew with a lot of curiosities. We were curious about so many things. We are fascinated about our lives. Sometimes kids ask questions. We don't know how to answer. But in fact, we asked all these questions before. So yes, we know publication, we know research is a systematic process. We know all these terminologies, we know all these jargons. It is a scientific process, a systematic process. It must be a rigorous process. The findings must be robust. Fine, we know all this. But what about excitement? What about curiosity to explore something new? What about our observation? What about our reasoning? Now, I'm not sure how many of you have watched Alice in Wonderland. There is a phrase, there is a term called curiouser and curiouser. I'm not sure whether it is a word in the dictionary, but it makes perfect sense. We were curious before. Are we still curious about things in our life? Are we becoming curiouser and curiouser? I told my students many times, when we look around all our surroundings, if we observe properly, if we exercise our critical reasoning, there are so many things we can do research on. Why? It all begins with that curiosity. We are curious about truths. We are curious about realities in our lives. And that actually is the very, very origin of research. Yes, it is for KPI, key performance index. It is for promotion. We talk about impact factor. Yes, all these are important today. But we may have forgotten the very origin of research. We are curious about so many things. And that curiosity makes us learn, relearn, and unlearn, and relearn. You know, this process will go on and go on and go on. And whatever we learn, we like to share with others. Why? Because at the end of the day, what we learn, we want to share. And the reason why we share is because we want others to be benefited as well. So again, today there are still so many things remain unanswered. There are still so many things which require immediate attention. You and I, as researchers, as academics, as students, the responsibility is on us to keep learning, to keep being curious, and writing, publishing is definitely one of the ways to keep us learning, so that whatever we learn, we write, we publish, we disseminate knowledge to the audience in order to translate knowledge into something of use to the society. Anyway, I hope I've said this enough to give you a big picture. This is the vision, this is the passion to write, to publish, in order to translate knowledge into something actionable, something of use to the society. Now, very quickly, I just want to give you some examples how ideas can be turned into publication. Very quickly, I saw people taking selfie. I began to take selfie as well, but not that frequent. But not only people taking selfie, but whenever people do something, for example, when they eat, before they eat, they will take photo. Not only they take photo of their food, but they take photo with their food. You know, and then when I look at all these comments on Facebook, when someone took a selfie about their food and when they posted on Facebook, you look at the comments, wow, you know, you should try, where is this place? Why did you not invite me? You know, all these things. Now, this triggers my curiosity. In the past, people have been using advertisement, and we know people use celebrity to endorse products in order to stimulate more interest. People would, you know, because of celebrity, people will become more interested. People will go and buy and eat. So that, like I said, triggered my curiosity. Would selfie promotion be as effective as celebrity endorsement? Now, if we get a celebrity to endorse our product, we will need to pay him or her a lot of money. But when it comes to selfie promotion, it does not cost you any penny, because these customers, they take selfie and they share on their Facebook voluntarily. You did not need to pay him. You do not have to pay him. They do it voluntarily for you. So now this is my, I'm curious whether selfie promotion, the effect to generate interest, would be as influential as celebrity endorsement. Okay, so to cut my story short, this is why I did this research, in order to compare the effect of selfie promotion and the effect of celebrity endorsed advertisement. I don't want to tell you the result. You can read the paper, okay? But I would like to say this study is important because it gives small businesses equal platform to compete with big businesses, even though they do not have the capital, they do not have the resources to pay celebrity to endorse their products. Okay, so I hope you can see how observation, how real life scenario can be turned into an idea. And this idea eventually turned into a publishable paper. Okay, this is another example. This is an ethnic food in Sarawak. By the way, I'm from Sarawak, a state in Malaysia. So when people visited Sarawak, or when people visit Sarawak, they know about Malay food, they know about Chinese food, they know about Indian food, but the largest ethnic group in Sarawak is actually not Malay, not Chinese, not Indian. They are actually the Dayaks. But no, not many people know about Dayak food. Okay, so this paper I wrote to promote Dayak food. Okay, the motive behind is to use publication to promote Dayak food. So I submitted the paper to a journal called Journal of Ethnic Foods. This journal is indexed in Scopus Q1. I'm not sure if you can see the date, article history. This article is received on the 23rd of January, and the revision is received on 23rd of February, and it is accepted on the 23rd of February. It only took about a month for the paper to be accepted for publication. This is indexed in Scopus Q1. Okay. Now, how do I know? How did I know about it? Later, I will explain some of the strategies and tactics. Right now, I just want to impress you that it does not need something revolutionary. You know, you don't have to sit under a tree waiting for inspiration. All the realities happening around you, if you observe, if you put some thoughts on it, all this could potentially become an interesting idea, or interesting ideas. And these ideas could be processed into something actionable. Eventually, they can become publishable papers, published in good papers, in good journals. All right. So I'm not really, a marketer, a business person, but I told myself, why not? As a scholar, I use publication to promote Sarawak, to promote Dayak food. I'm not sure whether this is a successful, this is an effective method, but at least today, 200 plus of you online, most of you, I believe, are from the Philippines. Now you know Sarawak, now you know Dayak food. So at least I did my job, okay? The paper does its job. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Now, this is another webinar I gave 2 or 3 months ago to postgraduate students. Again, my purpose was to encourage them that failure is part of the process. If you submit and you are afraid of being rejected, then you have to remove that phobia. Failure is an option, you might be surprised if I told you that my writing and publishing process has been full of failures. Okay. Yes, the papers are published. That great feeling when the paper is accepted for publication. Every paper has its story. And this story has everything to do with failures, but most importantly, how you deal with those failures. That's why I told all the postgraduate students, if you fail, you better fail early, okay? Don't be bothered by failure. I still remember the very first paper I submitted to journal for publication. It was rejected. I submitted to the second journal. It was rejected. Until the seventh rejection. Okay, so the same paper was rejected 7 times by 7 journals. Eventually, I told myself, forget it. I will just submit to a non-indexed journal. Okay, so I submitted to a non-indexed journal. After 1 week, I received the email, congratulations, your paper is accepted for publication. I took comfort, okay? I celebrated. Even though it is a non-indexed journal, but I need that to build my confidence. But one thing for sure, this is no joke. Through this rejection process, I learned one thing. I learned how to properly format a manuscript. Just imagine the first time when I submitted a paper, you know, I was not familiar with this publication game, APA, margin, you know, cover page, title page, and the keywords, referencing, citation. Even though my paper was rejected 7 times, one thing for sure, I learned a lot how to properly format paper. Okay, so that this process did not really put me off, even though it was, you know, I must admit, when my paper was rejected, I felt sad, I felt disappointed. But you have to get over with it, and you have to move on. And thank God that at least from all these experiences, I became more determined, and that's why, you know, I keep going on. I'm glad I did that. I'm still doing that. So failure is an option. In fact, you should fail your way to success. And many times you learn a lot from failure. Failure can be a great teacher. Success can be a bad teacher. Again, this is not an absolute term. It really depends on our experience. Again, I hope I said enough to encourage those who have been rejected before. Keep moving on. Rejection is part of the process. All right. Now, this is the email we like to receive, right? Just, you know, an example. For example, this one. Dear Dr. Ting, it is a pleasure to accept your manuscript entitled. Whenever you read this email, whenever I read this email, I felt, wow, elated. I mean, how should I put it? When I receive email from the publisher, I always told myself, you know, 70% that paper will be rejected, or that paper would require major revision. Now, at the beginning of my publishing experience, I submitted to low tier journals. I submitted to lower tier journals. But as I progressed, this is something which I will say later, I began to try better journals. I began to try good journals. I also tried top tier journals. And this is why, you know, at the moment, I don't really try lower tier journal unless this is a paper where I work with my juniors. I work with my students in order to encourage them, to motivate them to write more, to publish more. We may not want to try high tier journal because we know rejection rate is very, very high, okay? So it depends on the situation. Again, this is something I will discuss later. But anyway, so when I receive this email, this is wonderful, all right? This is the email we like to receive. But this is not always the case. This is another experience, okay? I submitted a paper to European Journal of Marketing, and the editor replied, I mean, after reviewing the paper, dear Dr. Ting, I write you in regards to manuscript, you know, which you submitted to the European Journal of Marketing. While I think the topic of your work is likely to be of interest to the readers of EJM, I do not feel your paper makes a strong enough contribution in its current stage of development for it to stand a good chance of making it through the review process. The editor was polite. I believe this is a template reply. In short, your paper is rejected. That's it. Okay. So whenever I saw this email, well, of course, I feel down, I feel disappointed. But again, you have to accept, all right? So another situation, I received this, I submitted a paper, I received this email. There are comments from 5 reviewers. Major revision, major revision, major revision, reject, reject. And the editor decided to invite us to resubmit. Okay, so it is a paper required major revision. Okay, so again, at least there is a chance. Even though you look at the reviewers' comments, you feel a bit down, but still, editor decided to give you chance to revise. Now, the good thing is, these reviewers give you comments. All right, they are not your supervisors. They are someone from, we don't know, could be from US, from UK. They review your paper for free. Think about it. Think about it. So this is why it is a learning process. It is a rewarding process. These reviewers provided comments for free. And from there, we learn how to review, how to revise, how to polish, how to improve our paper, and we are given chance to resubmit. Okay, to cut the story short, we submitted, eventually the paper was accepted, and now this paper is published. Okay, if we did not persevere, if we took it personally, my goodness, this paper requires major revision. Let's forget about it. Let's withdraw and submit to another journal. If we did that, of course, I don't know what will happen to that paper, but that shows that you compromise your learning opportunity. Okay, we should have taken it to our chin. Accept the comments, even though some of the comments may be harsh. Take them, accept them, and work on the paper. So when we see the paper published, it is more than just a publication. It is about the process that you went through, you learn. That's why you have every reason to celebrate. By the way, I celebrate every time when my paper gets published. All right. Now, this is another situation. I submitted to a paper. I received comments from 4 reviewers. Major revision, reject, reject, reject. I look at the word counts. Comments were 3,200 words. And the editor decided to reject the paper. Okay, so when I saw rejection, what did I do? I felt disappointed. So I told myself, don't read the email. Don't read the comments. Close the email, walk away. Why? Because at that time, I was frustrated. I was disappointed. If I read the comments at that time, I would read it with a lot of frustration. My goodness, who does he think he is? Okay, this reviewer doesn't know my story. This is a good paper. He doesn't know what he's talking. We have a lot of frustration, anger. We are at the heat of the moment. We read and we are not learning. So it's better to walk away. After 2 days, 3 days, you need time to do some inner healing, okay? Telling yourself, this paper is already gone. This paper is already rejected. Just accept it. Just, embrace it. So after 2 days, after 3 days, when I open the email, when I read the comments again, I read the comments with a learning attitude. as you read, yes, the reviewer is correct. I should have done this. This part, even though I do not agree with his comment, but I think his comment gives me a new idea. It could be useful for another paper. Can you see the difference? Don't read comments with vengeance. Read comments with the attitude to learn. And that's why, for me, personally, I walk away after 2 or 3 days, then only I open, that document in order to read all the comments. Now, another situation, we submitted a paper to a journal. As you can see, this paper went through multiple rounds of review. The first review, there were 6,000 comments. Second review, 5,565 words. And when we submitted our revised manuscript with our responses to comments, there were 15,768 words. My colleagues and I almost wanted to give up. We thought we asked, why not we just pull out? We thought the reviewers were purposely making our life difficult. The comments were so difficult to deal with. But again, we are grateful. We stick to it. We stick to our plan. We work on the comments. We revised the manuscript. We resubmitted. Okay. The good thing is eventually that paper was accepted, and today it has been accepted. It has been published. Okay. So again, it is a learning process. Yes, again, the publication itself is a matter of joy, but this paper, all these papers tell me stories, how we went through all the processes, how we learned, how we struggled, how we persevered, and how we achieved something together. So again, I hope all this will inspire you. You may be a beginner. You may have published before, or you may have the phobia to try good journals. You could be in all these sort of situations. I hope to a certain degree, all this could inspire you a little bit. Now, as I said, I cannot really teach you how to write in this webinar. Rather, I will use marketing perspective to tell you about publishing. As many of you might have heard, many people thought that I'm from tourism and hospitality. Actually, my major is marketing, but I do different behavioral research. And one of the behavioral studies is about tourism, is about hospitality. Now, when we talk about publish, some of you might have heard about publish or perish. Okay, if you look at the diagram, ironically, you will perish anyway. Okay, if you have idea, you don't write, you will perish. If you write, you don't publish, you will still perish. If you publish, if you look at another diagram, then things will become more and more difficult. Okay, and you will still perish. That is why when I talk about publish, I do not like to talk about perish. Okay, and there are so many terms, publish or perish. After you publish, you should promote. If you don't promote, people don't cite you. Nothing wrong with it, but again, I do not like to talk about this. Some people talk about publish and publicize. Why? Because again, if you publish your papers, that's why there are researchers, there are authors who like to publicize their papers everywhere. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not against it. So they publicize their paper in, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, different places. By all means, you can do that. Okay. So publish, polish, promote, publicize. All these words start with the letter P. But this is not what I want to share with you today, all right? Neither am I going to tell you that these 4 Ps stand for please, 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 okay? Nothing to do with please. This is the one that I would like to share with you, okay? Now, I think I've done enough to impress you that writing and publishing is a learning process. It's a continual process. I started with publishing in a non-indexed journal. Today, I learned to publish my papers in good journals, in top journals, but I still publish in low-tier journals because I work with my students. I work with, emerging researchers. They are still inexperienced in publishing. So rather than, forcing them to publish in top journals, they need that steps, like what I did in the past, to build confidence, to learn the trade, to progress slowly. Now, with all this in mind, this is why I come up with the 4 Ps of publishing. And these 4 Ps are not please, 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 please. These 4 Ps are not publicize, promote, polish. These 4 Ps are planning, positioning, progressing, and practicing. Okay. Now, I cannot go into details because there are a lot in it. What I like to share with you is we have to be a determined person. Okay, you cannot always rely on external factors. First and foremost, we have to be determined, and that's why there is a theory called self-determination theory. There are intrinsic aspects and there are also extrinsic aspects. Now, intrinsically, you have to plan. If we don't plan, nothing will happen. Okay, we have to plan. How can we develop our research ideas? We have to plan. How can we come up with a workable schedule? Okay, writing requires time. Writing requires thinking. Even thinking requires time. Okay, if you are busy the whole day, I mean, fair enough, all of us are busy, but can you manage your time? Can you plan your time so that you have specific time, you have specific timetable for writing, for publishing? If you can't plan, then nothing can happen, okay? Even if you can write, nothing can happen, all right? So that's why planning is very, very important, all right? Next, positioning. How you position your paper. Who are the audience, okay? What are your targets? How would you like to make your story to be, okay? Now, if you want to do a study related to selfie, and if you Google search, there are so many studies on selfie. Okay. Now, what makes your paper different from others? Again, this is about how you position your paper to make it interesting, to make it different from other papers. If you just want to publish your paper for the sake of publication in any journals, then maybe this is not so much an issue. But if you want to publish your paper in Q1, Q2 journals, in Scopus Index journal, in SSCI journals, you must remember the editors receive many papers. There is competition behind the scene. What makes your paper better than the other papers? For example, AJBR, Asian Journal of Business Research. Let me tell you the truth. AJBR, it is currently indexed in Scopus. It is not really a top tier journal, okay? Somewhere average. but it is progressing all the time. Despite not being a top tier journal, the current rejection rate of AJBR is more than 80%. At zero, 80%. That means if I receive 10 papers, only 1.5 or 2 papers will be sent to review. The other 8 papers will be rejected. Now, when these papers are rejected, some of these papers are not good enough. Some of these papers do not really fulfill the aims and scope of the journal. But some of these journals are actually okay. They're actually quite good. However, we cannot publish so many papers. And all the reviewers, most of the reviewers, in fact, my reviewers, they all work voluntarily. I don't want to punish them, by giving them papers which are not good enough to review. There are many factors, there are many things going on behind the scene in the minds of the editors. This is why if your paper is one of the 10 papers, and this journal can only accept 2 papers, even though your paper is a good paper, your paper may be rejected as a result. Okay. One of the main reasons is because of the lack of positioning. Yes, your paper is good, but we don't see anything new. We don't see anything interesting. There is no wow factor, W-O-W. There is no wow factor. Your study is good, but there are so many people out there, they do the same thing. Your paper could be rejected, okay? Or it may go through review, but reviewers' comments, they may recommend this paper be rejected as well. All right, so again, positioning. Number 3, progressing. You don't stay static. You don't just use template. Template meaning, there's a formula in doing everything. No, it is a process where you make progress, okay? That is why my colleagues and I, whenever we write a paper, when the paper is done, we don't submit immediately. Yes, we may submit to proofreader. Once it is proofread, we don't submit immediately. We will still read. After 1 or 2 days, we will still read. Why? Because when we read our paper multiple times, I believe your experience can tell you, you will be the best critic of your own paper. You can see, perhaps I should, write this way to improve the storyline, to make it better, okay? To remove all the redundant words, to polish, to make the story better, to improve the clarity of your argumentation. This is how you progress, If you write the paper, the soon you finish, you submit, then you may get a lot of, harsh comments. But if you keep it, you learn, you draft, you craft, you review, this is how you progress. Similar to what I said earlier, when you receive comments from the reviewers, that is also how you make progress. You read the comments, agree or disagree, this is the time you learn to make progress. If you agree, improve. If you disagree, adopt the idea for your next paper in order to improve your next paper. Okay, so this is a progressing process. Finally, like it or not, this may sound like a cliche, okay, but it is a fact, okay? It is the fact. You have to keep practicing. If you write a lot today and you stop writing for the next 1 month, you are not learning. You have to keep practicing. Even though you may do something little, you write little, just keep practicing, just do it continually. Again, I can't go into details. I hope I've said enough to impress you why when we talk about 4 P's of publishing, forget about promotion first. Forget about perishing first. Think about how you plan, how you position, how you make progress, and how you can make sure you can practice all the time. And if you see the inner circle, okay, these are the stakeholders. When you write the paper, it is not just about you. As I said earlier, yes, the paper is about you, but you must remember there are other stakeholders. Who are the editors? There will be reviewers. And who are the readers? So when you write paper and when you aim for a certain journal, you have to have these stakeholders in mind. The key person, obviously, is the editor. He can influence, he can make decisions. Authors, collaborators, meaning why? Because you can work with others. Yes, you can write a paper and you can be a single author, not a problem at all. But whenever you work with multiple authors, these are the collaborators, okay? Different people have different strengths. Can we maximize our strengths? I may be a good storyteller. My friend could be, an English teacher. He can polish, he can rewrite everything to make sure it is free from any grammatical errors. Okay, so how can we utilize our strengths, work together as a team, collaborating together in order to give this paper a better chance to be accepted for publication? Okay, reviewers are the claimants. Why? Because they can affect the decision. They can claim, they can affect editors' decision, and eventually readers, recipients. Now, whenever I receive paper, again, like it or not, this is what is happening in the minds of the reviewers, of the editors. We also think, would this paper be interesting enough to attract readership? Will this paper be interesting enough to attract readers? Will this paper be interesting enough to attract citation? Okay? These are the things that you have to consider. Again, if you are a beginner, maybe these are too early for your consideration. 200 of you, I really don't know your publishing experience, so I just have to, cover a bit of everything. Hopefully you find something relevant to you. For those who are publishing, you have to start thinking, who are your readers? These are the stakeholders which will affect reviewers' comments. Eventually, it will affect editors' decision. Okay. Now, there are also external perspective. What resources do you have? Do you have 3 hours to write per day? Some people may not have 3 hours per day to write. I have a friend who only has 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, 1 hour in the evening to write. You need to know your resources. How can you utilize your resources to write? And what about support? Does your faculty support? Does your family support you to write? When I write in the evening time, I need my wife to support. Why? Because she needs to take care of the children so that I can focus on my writing. All these little things are important. Your colleagues, your working environment, okay? Your objectives. Do you write for the sake of promotion, for your KPI, or you write in order in order to make yourself an established person in a particular domain? Okay. Lastly, surrounding condition, all these facilitating conditions. So all these are external factors that may affect your writing and publishing experience. I know I might not have said enough about all this. Time is a factor today. I was invited to give a talk before at a university, and that there's one particular lecturer, she told me she needed to teach 25 hours per week. And she needed to supervise 60 students, 60 students. And there were so many admin works to do. Okay, how could I write? How could I publish? She asked me. Okay, so this is why I came up with all this in order to help them to strategize, to manage your resources, to understand your conditions, how to get the most out of it in order to keep you writing and publishing. There will never be a best way. However, there will be appropriate ways, suitable ways in order to make your writing more effective. Okay, I removed many slides actually last night because there is a slide about someone, I couldn't remember the study, who did a research on those who publish a lot and those who did not publish. And the conclusion is those who publish a lot are actually as busy as those who did not publish and who had been using the excuse of busy schedule for not being able to publish. I hope you get my point. So that study, exposes the fact that publishing or not is about management. It's about how you manage yourself, how you manage your resources, how you manage, all your surrounding factors. I hope you get something out from this. Now, when it comes to publishing, there is no secret apart from writing, and you have to write today. Okay, so I have all these points. I believe these slides will be made available to all of you. I purposely put all these points here so that you can read, you can refer to. Okay, so these are some of the key points about writing. Now, when we talk about strategy and tactics, this again is a huge topic. This is why at the very beginning, I said earlier, if my sharing can inspire you, can motivate you to write, I consider it as a success. But anyway, different people have different situations. I cannot give you a comprehensive overview of strategies, but these are some of the things I would like to share with you. If you are a newbie, okay, you have never written a paper before, okay, these are the three things or three strategies I would recommend. Know the purpose of publishing. If publishing doesn't help you, forget about publishing, okay? Forget about publishing. Know about publishing. What is the purpose? If it really helps you, it helps your tenure, it helps your profession, by all means, it is something that you can learn, you can do, okay? Or you can listen and talk to researchers in order to know more about publication. Or if you really want to try conference papers, because conference papers do not require a lot. So if you submit a paper, most likely they will accept it, and then you get the chance to publish. You can listen to other presentation, you present your own papers, you get the feel of it, what publication is about, okay? If you are a beginner, you have written a paper before, then I will advise you, these are the strategies. Find a few good papers, read them over and over again. Learn from these papers how to write. You can even copy them. Of course, when you copy, you paraphrase, you learn from them. Learn from 3 or 5 good papers, all right? Number 2, offer to work with someone else. Someone who has been publishing, offer yourself to work with them. Number 3, you can always get advice from those who publish a lot. okay, in order to learn to avoid unnecessary mistakes, even though some mistakes are important, but at least, you know, you don't go through things not knowing what happens to you, what happens to why your paper gets rejected. Learn from researchers, okay? Number 3, if you have been writing, if you have been publishing, you are an achiever. Then, in order to make further progress, you need a productive team. You need to work with different scholars, researchers. Number 2, it is important to know the editors, to know other authors. Okay, it helps you. For example, I know a lot of editors, and some of these editors are on my Facebook. So sometimes I just text them, Professor ABC, regarding that special issue, what do you actually want? So as a friend, he will tell me what he actually wants. So this is, you know, additional information for you to write, to prepare something more relevant. Still, it doesn't take away the fact that you need to write. You need to plan, you need to position, you need to progress, you need to practice. All these are still very, very important. But if you know the editors, if you get extra information from them, that will help you to be more productive, okay? So I hope you understand my point. Huh? It is not I'm not telling you to take a shortcut. No, you still have to do all the necessaries. But if you want to become an achiever, you want to produce more, it's always good to know the editors, to know the authors. How do you know them? Join the conference, join certain webinars, know them, write to them. No harm to write to them. They may not entertain us, but some of them can be very friendly, all right? Also, aim for good journals. Why? Because as you aim for better journals, you will get better comments. Yes, your rejection rate will also go up. But like I said earlier, it is part of the process. You want to get more quality comments. If you get a comment and that comment says, this is a rubbish paper, no good, redo, you don't learn anything from these comments. You want constructive comments, critical comments, you can learn a lot. If you are a contributor, okay, you are an experienced person, of course, you have to have bigger network, okay, because you can do a lot of cross-country collaboration. You give keynote speech, you work you work on international projects. And this is where you begin to focus more on your area, your specific, your particular area, an area where you are known, an area where people know you are good at. Okay, you cannot do everything all the time. There must be a few areas that you establish yourself as a guru, as a subject area expert. Okay, and you begin to aim top tier journals. Finally, if you are an emeritus professor, okay, you are about making a real impact. You don't need to publish a lot, but whatever you write, you want to make a real impact. And sometimes you don't publish in journals. You publish in trade journals, Harvard Business Review, economics, you know, in order to make a real impact on the society, okay? And you focus on your area, and also it is more about knowledge creation, knowledge translation, knowledge transfer, knowledge dissemination. Okay, so again, I cannot give you comprehensive overviews, but whoever you are, these are some of the strategies perhaps you can consider. All right, these are the tactics. Again, I do not intend to go through everything with all of you. Time constraint is a factor, but all the points are there. All the points are there. All these require planning, positioning, progressing, practicing. No matter which stage you are at, you can go through these points because tactics are about something that you implement. The first one may be effective to you, it may not be effective to me. Number two can be relevant to you, it may not be relevant to me. So I leave it all there for you to read, to go through. Hopefully you will find something relevant to you to improve your writing and publishing. Okay, I would like to conclude with a few additional strategies and tactics. I cannot go through everything once again, but let me just share with you a few things. Okay, number one, it's always good to volunteer yourself as a reviewer. Okay, the editor may reject your application. No harm to try. Just write to an editor. Okay, the editor of the journal which you like to aim. Okay, for example, British Food Journal. This is your journal. A few years ago, I wanted to aim. I wrote to the editor. I would like to nominate myself as a reviewer, ad hoc reviewer. Okay, so the editor was happy. All right, someone wanted to wants to do something voluntarily. So he gave me one paper to review as an ad hoc reviewer. All right, so I reviewed the paper. I learned about this journal. Eventually, I submitted a paper. The paper went through review process. Eventually, the paper was accepted for publication. Now, after being an ad hoc reviewer, after being an author of that journal, I wrote to the editor, can I apply to be an editorial board member? Okay, he replied, you cannot, you need 2 years of experience. We need to evaluate your performance. Fine, I'm happy with it. So I think he purposely said that to test me, because what happened next is he sent me another paper to review. I review, I provide my comments, I submitted on time. He was impressed. After 2 months, 3 months, not 2 years, he appointed me as an editorial board member. Okay, then I move on. I applied for special issue. Now he knew me. He trusted me. So he approved my special issue application. Can you see the process? So to cut the story short, okay, now I work with that journal. I know the editor. I know the publisher. All these began with a humble experience. As a nobody, as a person who wrote to the editor with fear and trembling, sir, professor, can I nominate myself as a reviewer? Okay. Now this editor is my good friend. Okay. I invited him to Kuching. He came to Kuching, Sarawak. I brought him to see orangutan, monkey, whatever. A good friend of mine. Okay. So all this began with a very simple gesture. I wrote to the editor, okay, with a bit of, thick skin, nominated myself. I self-nominate, all right? The rest is history, all right? So why not do something like this? It is a strategy. It may work, it may not work, no harm to try, okay? In my case, it works perfectly well, all right? Another thing, work with a team, work with different teams. Like I said earlier, for the last 8 months, I published 24 papers. 23 of them are indexed in Scopus. I would not have done it if I did it alone. I work with different people. I love working with different people because it is not just about publication, the end product. It is also about the process. You met friends. If you look at the pictures, people from different parts of the world, online or in physical form, you talk to them, you work with them. Okay, I say more. All right, okay, another thing, the Emerald Literary Award for Outstanding Paper Award. This is not a paper authored by me alone. It is a paper co-authored by a few people. we won this award together. All right. So this is again my advice, a strategy, a tactic you can consider. Okay, work as a team. Okay, with my friend in Taiwan, with my friend in Singapore, we won best paper together. This best paper was won in Taiwan. I could not go to Taiwan, right? This happened 2 months ago, but my friend in Taiwan presented our paper. So he won the best paper, all the authors won. As a result, this goes to our CV. We have a best paper in an international conference. Okay, again, the benefit of working together. No, by the way, 8 papers, not 7 papers, 8 because of this paper. All right, working with practitioners. I don't think I want to elaborate on this. It is so important to work with practitioners. Okay, we should not stay in our own, in silo. As an academic, as a researcher, I like to talk to practitioners. Many times I learn things from them, and from them I get many ideas, including this paper. This paper is about Sarawak, where I'm from, and this paper is published in top 1 journal in tourism, tourism management, tourism and hospitality. Currently, I believe it is number 1 journal. The story is about Sarawak. Okay, so again, I use this paper to promote Sarawak. But how to work with different people, where I get these ideas from. These ideas are actually from the practitioners. Okay, some of from the Minister of Tourism in Sarawak and all the government agencies. Okay, so I think I should stop here. My apology for using too much time. These are the conclusion. Publishing is about planning, progressing, positioning, and practicing. It is not linear. It is not a one-way traffic. It is a loop. It is a cycle. All right, you have to do it again and again. That's why when I show you 4 Ps, it is a round shape. It is a circle. There is no beginning. There is no end. It really depends on where you are. Writing and publishing requires continual learning practice, and it starts today, not tomorrow. What if tomorrow never comes? It has to start today. Being critical to your own work and seeking improvement is how you become a better writer. Mistakes and failures make you realize what you would not have otherwise known in writing and publishing. Being open to others with right attitude and working with them will sustain your writing and publishing. There are so many reasons to writing and publishing. Okay, one business person told me before, why did you write? Did writing give you money? Did writing make you rich? I told him, no, it did not. But because of writing and publishing, I met friends from different countries. And because of my publication, they invited me to their country to conduct workshop, to give speech. And my flights, my accommodations are covered. Even though I'm not a billionaire today, but for me, that is value. That is more valuable to me. Okay, so that sustains my writing and publishing. Finding the fun in your publishing journey. Writing and publishing is not supposed to be easy, but they can be extremely rewarding. Okay, so you have the slide. These are the events which we organize. Let us know that if you need more information, we are more than happy to work with APCoRE and PHERC, if I pronounce correctly. More than happy to work with all of you. At the end of the day, we want to create value to benefit more people out there. Now, these 3 slides are about Emerald. By the way, I'm currently the ambassador of Emerald Publishing in East Asia. So Michelle is from the Philippines. I actually wanted her to talk about this emerald for 5 to 10 minutes, but she cannot make it. But the slides are here. So if you have any questions related to emerald publishing, if you like to know the service, use the service, do talk to her. She is the right person. She stays in the Philippines. With that, thank you so much. Again, my apology for using a bit. For using more time. I hope it helps you in some ways. My email, my social media are there. Once again, thank you so much. Back to you, Dr. Ramsey.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ting, for that very relevant and informative talk on the 4 Ps of publishing, sharing strategy, and recommendation of tactics. You have reminded us that failure is an option, and that failure is a crucial ingredient for success, and how we regard acceptance and rejection of our paper. And of course, the 4 Ps you have shared with us, from planning to positioning to progressing to practicing, and how the roles of the readers, the authors, the editors, and the reviewers would affect or influence our views and practices from the writing stage to publishing stages. We believe that our participants from the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, China, India, and Indonesia and Vietnam have learned a lot from your talk, although we are constrained by the time given. And at this juncture, we will proceed to the open forum, and to facilitate this part, may I call in Dr. Julius Meneses, Vice President for Research and Extension of the Rizal Technological University, and a member of the PHERC Board of Directors, and of course, the Country Director of APCoRE Philippines. Dr. Jules.
Thank you very much, Sir Ramsey. And thank you also for that very informative discussion given to us by Dr. Hiram Team. And now we move on to our question and answer. And here is the first question from Alexis Argente Dayap of Dayap National High School. Dr. Team, can you suggest us non-index list of journals for us to start passing papers for publication? So let me repeat it again. Can you suggest us non-index list of journals for us to start passing papers for publication? Dr. Ting?
Thank you for the question. There are many non-index journals, but one thing to take note, even though these are non-index journals, it is better to target journals which are refereed. So this journal may not be indexed in Scopus, it may not be indexed in Web of Science, but at least it is a refereed journal, because there are so many dubious journals out there, fake journals out there, predatory journals out there. Now, I decide to not tell you which journal, because it really depends on your discipline. There are marketing, tourism journals, management journals out there. If you go back to my earlier slide, the slides will be made available to you. Journal of Applied Structural Equation Modeling, Journal of Marketing Advances and Practices, and Journal of Responsible Tourism Management. These 3 journals are non-index journals, but they are peer-reviewed, refereed journals. One day they will get indexed. So these are the journals I would encourage you to submit your papers to. Okay, so if you like to know which journal based on discipline, do write to me, email to me, because I need to know your discipline. Okay, so any journal, as long as it is refereed, it is peer-reviewed, in order to build your confidence at the beginning stage. Back to you.
Thank you very much for the very nice tip, Dr. Ting. So any journal that could somewhat motivate you to write could be, or could you use to start passing your papers for publication. Another question from Sherry Joy Del Mundo from Batangas State University. Dr. Ting, how do we know that a journal is not a predatory? So this is somewhat similar to what you have mentioned earlier, I think. Dr. Ting?
Okay, this is a huge question. Now, there are websites exposing fake journals, predatory journals, not only journals but also publishers. One of the websites which many people would refer to is the website maintained by a person called Jeffrey Bell. Jeffrey, Jeffrey, Bell, Beale, if I'm not mistaken. He is a librarian in a university in the United States. So he develops a website to compile, to collect, to expose. So that would be a good place to start with. I'm not saying that this website is the best, but it is to answer the question simply in a simple manner. This website could be a good place to check whether the journal that you want to aim for is listed on the website. Okay, so that would be the easiest way. Alternatively, you can always write an email to someone who has published a lot. We will be able to tell you straight away, forget about this journal, forget about this publisher, don't go there, don't touch it. So so these two ways I would suggest at the beginning stage as well.
Okay, that's two ways of checking whether a journal is predatory or not, by checking into the Bell's list of predatory journal, and to write to the professionals or those people who have written a lot for a publication or publications a lot. Another question, Dr. Ting, is that what is your take in self-citation? Is it unethical? Again, what is your take in self-citation? Is it unethical?
Okay. There is no absolute answer. It depends. Number one, it is fine if how should I put it? When you write more papers, it is a progress of your study. It is a progress of your project, and you want to establish yourself as a subject area expert in a particular domain. So in general, there is no issue. However, if self-citation is over the board, is too much, then it becomes an issue. And that is why now there are metrics to calculate self-citation and remove self-citation from the calculation of index to know your actual index. So yes and no. So yes, because it may be something that you work on, you build upon, and you always want to, as you build upon your work, it is perfectly fine if you cite your earlier work. But if you abuse it, you cite too many in your own paper, including papers which are not really relevant to your current study, this becomes a problem. You may not be caught at the beginning, but academia publication, nothing is secret. People will know later. You only have yourself to blame later when you are caught, abusing self-citation too much.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's the answer for the self-citation from Dr. Ting. Question from Jerry S. Vigo of Sorsogon State College. How about another P on plagiarism test? Is there a free application that reviews the whole manuscript? Dr. Ting?
Okay, how should I put it? Nothing is free, but there will always be free stuff out there. And I think I better don't say too much. I have friends who told me nothing is uncrackable under the sun. So again, it depends on your resources. If your university has all these support, why not? Maybe your friends, the university where your friends are attached to have these resources, why not? Your friend is one of the co-authors, ask him or her to do the similarity check. I better not answer the question directly, whether there is a free or paid stuff. There are many resources out there where you can utilize. Again, it is about strategy and tactic. Eventually, you can still get things done, but you get it done in a smart way. Back to you.
Get it done in a smart way. That's a very good, I think, tip for everyone. Question from Hernando Diaz. Dr. Ting, do you believe to read with related papers you are working and cite them in your writing? Do you believe to read with related papers you are working and cite them in writing?
If I understood the question correctly, yes.
Yeah, it's more of citation, I think.
If you read something relevant to your study, and if the ideas, if the arguments are relevant, are applicable to your study, you should. And because citing them is also a form of acknowledging the sources. So we don't want to be caught to steal ideas without proper acknowledgement. That is another problem many authors, some people have.
So the key there is proper acknowledgement of some others' works, right, Dr. Ting?
Yes.
And yeah. Another question from Kenneth Barrientos of Mag-Aba National High School. How do we know that journals are of high impact factor? What if you already publish your paper in a predatory journal? Can you still publish this in an index or referee journal? So there are two questions here.
So there are two questions, right?
Yeah, two questions.
Okay, I understood the first question. I'm not so sure about the second question. Could you repeat the second question?
The second question is that, what if you already publish a paper in a predatory journal? Can you still publish this in an index or referee journal?
Okay, for the very first question, the quality of a journal is something very subjective, especially when it comes to indexing and ranking system. It really depends. If you are in Australia, people look into ABDC list. If you are in Indonesia, for example, people look into Scopus. If you are in China, people look into SSCI. If you are in European countries, people look into ABS. So these are different ranking system, indexing system to rank the quality of the journal. Now, in general, we agree that certain journals are of high quality. Certain journals are in the second tier, third tier. So I cannot tell you straight away which one. But for example, tourism management, if you look at ABDC list, if you look at ABS, if you look at SSCI, if you look at Scopus, all these agree that tourism management is top one in tourism and hospitality. Okay, so just work your way up. That is why when you submit a paper, read the journal's aims and scope. You can still try. If your paper is rejected, read the comments. That will tell you, that will give you a better idea. Perhaps your paper is not up to that level yet. So you can go one level down. So this is how you learn and try different things. But again, you can always ask someone who is experienced which journal you want to try, you know. So it is something subjective, all right, because it depends on where you are, which system you are following. Now, if you publish a paper in a predatory journal, in general, it is it is a bad news. You wasted that paper. You cannot publish the same paper in another journal. If you revise, it has to be 70–80% different from the paper which was published earlier. So for all of you out there, do your homework. Don't rush into publication. Whenever we receive email from someone to publish our paper in their journals, be careful, because normally good journals will not send personalized email. All the, I'm not saying all, but most of the time, good journals will not send personalized email to invite you to submit your paper to their journals. They may ask for payment, $300, $400 US. Be careful, okay? I cannot tell you for sure this is correct, this is wrong. Hopefully these are the indications for you to make a pause, check again before you submit. Don't waste your paper in predatory, in fake journal, because there's no return. Back to
Dr.
you.
King, this is very much related to what you have mentioned earlier about payment. This is a reaction from Josephine Dasig. She says, I always receive a notification from academia that name is cited from various authors. However, I need to pay certain dollars for me to see the citations. What can you say about it?
In general, don't entertain it. In general, don't entertain it. And if you use if you use Gmail, straight away mark it as a spam. Don't entertain it. Okay.
Okay.
There are other non-index journals, but they are genuine. Okay. So better try those journals. If you really need a journal for quick publication for you to build confidence, don't try those journals. I'm not saying all of them, but in general, be careful with all the personalized email, nice language, or they may even claim that they are indexed in ISI, impact factor 4.501, whatever. Don't believe all this nonsense. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ting. From Mel June Cortez, his question is, what do you think the best advisable or standards of how many papers to read, considering the alignment, target, or suited published papers, so that you could not waste your time reading and downloading published papers? Example, your research studies about marketing strategy. How many minimum papers to read before to start write your own papers? Or is there a minimum or unlimited reading?
Okay, there is no, I believe you must have guessed my answer. There is no formula for this. And it really depends on the nature of your study, research problem. But when I guide my students, normally I will tell them, if you find 3 to 5 really good papers relevant to your study, these 3 to 5 articles could be your anchored articles. And these articles could be enough to help you to come up with 70–80% of your research problem, your framework, what are the theories you want to use for your study, what are the variables you want to investigate. If you manage to find, if you can find 3 to 5 really good articles relevant to your study, it could be enough to come up with 70–80% structure concepts of your study of your paper. Okay, but of course you need to read more. There could be more, and there are definitely more for you to read to improve your argumentation, to support different things. But for your particular, for your study, your research problem, your framework, the underlying theory, the variables, 3 to 5 really good articles could be enough.
Okay.
I hope I said it in a balanced manner. There is no formula, okay, on one hand, but on the other hand, if you manage to find 3 to 5 really good articles, for example, let me say one more thing. For example, if you find a really good paper published in good journal, and this paper uses meta-analysis, systematic literature review, to give you a comprehensive overview of all the articles on that particular subject. And it comes up with strategies. It comes up with recommendations, what your future studies should be. What are the shortcomings of past studies? Now, this paper would give you, would be really useful for your study.
Okay.
Yeah, back
I
to you.
think that's a great suggestion from Dr. Ting. Another question, Dr. Ting. Are you still okay for more question?
I'm fine. I'm okay.
Okay. So this question is from Danilo Rogayan, faculty of President Ramon Magsaysay State University in Zambales. Since collaborative research has been encouraged in the academe, what are your practical advice on the selection of research collaborators?
Okay, this is again another very subjective question.
Yeah.
It really depends, because as I said earlier, I have different teams. For example, I work with my students. I work with my colleagues in the same place. I work with my research fellows from different places. Now, in general, when we work together, we have to be able, I mean, we are different in many ways. So we have to know what can we contribute to this study, to this paper. So I may come up with the idea, I may come up with a draft, but this is a study about Malaysia and the Philippines. I cannot go to the Philippines to collect data, so I need someone from the Philippines to collaborate with me, to write something related to the context about the Philippines and to collect data there. And if you look at my recent papers, I work with someone from, let's say, example, Australia. Why? Because they are good in English. So I don't need to, again, this is why you must have strategy. Yeah? I don't have to pay a proofreader to proofread my article. I just work with someone in Australia. But he is more than just a proofreader. He is also an academic. He's also a researcher. So he, even though we came out with the paper, he revised the whole thing and he proofread the paper. He polished the story. In general, Australian, they are critical. They are good at critical thinking. They can polish the story to make the paper better. So my point is, make sure when you work with different people, we know what they can contribute. Okay? Even though our contribution may be different, even though the percentage of our contribution may be different, nevertheless, we can contribute. And if that happen, if that is enough, why not? It's good to work together with different people. So in some situation, it could be 2 authors, it could be 3 authors, it could be 4 authors. Again, this is something for the corresponding author, for the main author to decide. All right. Having said that, if you like to write a paper on your own, okay, because you want to tell people that you are good enough to come up with everything, by all means, you can do that. By all means, you can do that. In general, I would advise the beginner and those who just start writing. In general, it is better to work with others because as you work with others, you learn more. And if the paper is published, not only your paper is available in your CV, in your university website, it will also be made available in others' CVs and others' websites. So meaning the chances of the paper getting read, getting cited are higher. So as an early career person, you need all this to build your confidence, to build your network, to learn. And that is why in general, I would advise you to work with people, especially those who can contribute regardless of the percentage of their contribution. Back to you.
Okay, for the interest of time, we will just gonna be entertaining one last question from Han Chang University, from Gabriel Jim from Han Chang University, College of Communication. I think this is similar to the earlier question given. He says, thank you for sharing, Dr. Ting. My question is, how best to divide the writing task among your collaborators? Is it by the sections of the paper?
It could be, but again, it depends on the situation. Sometimes it can be very impractical to divide a paper by section, because if you do that, all these sections will be disjointed, and then you need someone, could be the corresponding author, to harmonize, synchronize, to make sure everything flows nicely, to make sure everything is consistent. So normally, in most cases, I did not do that. Okay, what I did in the past, it is more about your role, R-O-L-E, your role. That's why, as I said, your contribution, regardless of the percentage of the contribution. I mean, if you look at my recent papers, I am often the third author or fourth author. Why? Because I did not come up with the idea. I did not come up with the draft. I did not collect the data. My job is to write the story, how to improve the clarity of the story, improve the reasoning of argumentation, to improve the practical meaningfulness, relevance of implication. And that usually took me long hours to do, long hours. Even though I did not come up with the idea, I did not come up with the literature review, I did not collect data. In some papers, I did not analyze. My job is more about the story of the paper, okay? But it took long hours to polish the whole thing. I did that most of the time, and in my experience, it has been working quite well. Okay, so let's say there are 4 authors, so everyone can get his or her part done before another person can do his or her part. So it depends, but my experience tells me at the moment we don't really like to do things by section. You do introduction, I do literature review, and another person do a discussion, because if you do that, everything will become disjointed. But if it works well with you, by all means, it is not a problem. Okay.
Thank you very much for that very informative and insightful discussion, Dr. Ting. And for this, we would like to give you and award you with this certificate of recognition. So Dr. Ting, may I read to you the citation of the certificate of recognition.
Thank you.
Asia Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators, in partnership with Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium Manila Incorporated award this certificate of recognition to Dr. Hiram Ting, the Associate Professor of UCSI University, Chairman of the Sarawak Research Society, Ambassador Emerald Publishing East Asia, Managing Editor of Asian Journal of Business Research, in grateful acknowledgement of his distinguished and invaluable knowledge shared as speaker during the APCoRE webinar series in partnership with PHERC Manila Incorporated, entitled The Four Ps of Publishing, Sharing of Strategy, and Recommendation of Tactics, given this 15th day of August of 2020, signed by the President of PHERC Manila Incorporated, Dr. Rasidon P. Bernarte, and the Executive Director of APCoRE Incorporated, Dr. Witawat Janggiam. So thank you very much, Dr. Ting, for sharing your time, your knowledge, and expertise for this kind of insightful event. And also, yes, and also to those participants whose questions were not read, you may send email to Dr. Ting so that you could have a good discussion and so that she could answer well your question. Anyway, Dr. Ting has shared his email and the FB account, I think. So that's it.
On my last slide.
Yeah, on the last slide. So back to you, Sir Ramsey. Thank you very much again, Dr. Ting.
Thank you.
Sir Ramsey.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Dr. Meneses, for moderating our open forum, and thank you as well to those all who sent in their questions. Again, if you have other questions which we cannot entertain due to time limitation, kindly send them to APCoRE@gmail.com, and we will send them to our speaker to answer. We will also be posting the email address on our official Facebook pages of APCoRE and PHERC. And time is so fast as we come to the closing parts of our program. May I call in the faculty member of the Technological University of the Philippines and member of the PHERC Board of Directors, Dr. Francis Esponilla, for the closing remarks.
All right. Thank you, Doc. As Assistant Professor Ramsey from PhilSCA, nais po naming batiin ang lahat ng isang mapagpala at ligtas na hapon sa pagdiriwang sa buwan ng wikang Filipino. In behalf of the APCoRE and PHERC Board officials, it is our honor to have with us today our distinguished speaker, Dr. Hiram Ting from University CSI, Malaysia. And to our local and international participants, a pleasant afternoon to all of you. We hope that this afternoon will be able to give you the knowledge which we can employ in our respective academic endeavor, especially in the tips for publication in the reputable journal platforms. To all our APCoRE and PHERC board and officials, Dr. Rasidon Bernarte, Dr. Sylvia Ambag, Associate Professor Randy Sagun, Assistant Professor Sherry Pebri from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Dr. Rodante Granfield Flores, and Assistant Professor Ramsey Ferrer from the Philippine State College of Aeronautics, Dr. Grant Cornell from Eloheo Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, Dr. Yunila Crisostomo, and Dr. Jules Meneses from Rizal Technological University, Dr. Luna Madera, and Dr. Ara Santos from Marikina Polytechnic College, Dr. Amalia Rosales from Taguig City University, Dr. Joseph Mercado, and Dr. Axel Ariola from the University of the East, Dr. Claire Gia from HTU, Dr. Rovina de Llobra from Lyceum University of the Philippines, Dr. Edgardo Rosales from ZZSPC, and our very own Dr. Maripaz Morales and Dr. Levi Elipani from Philippine Normal University, Dr. Francis Balason from Batangas State University, Dr. Melito A. Bakay, Dr. Jasmine Ignacio, and Associate Professor Francis Alfaro, and yours truly, Dr. Franz Esponilla II from the Technological University of the Philippines, saying keep safe and see you again in our next webinar. And please help us improve our next webinar by helping us your feedback be provided in our evaluation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Back to you, Sir Ramsey.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thank you very much, Dr. Esponilla. And before we end this webinar, we have some announcements. All right, so again, the requirements for the issuance of e-certificate. So this webinar is open to all. However, only active APCoRE and or PHERC members e-certificate. Those who are not yet a member, please visit the website www.apcore-inc.org or in the official Facebook pages of APCoRE and PHERC. So before we say goodbye, may I request all participants to enable their video or camera for a photo opportunity.
Sir Ramsey, the link, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, so this is the link to the evaluation for this webinar. So we'll just copy and then paste this in the Zoom group chat so that you can evaluate. Are there other announcements? Okay, so to join APCoRE, please click this link. Discounted membership fee of 500 pesos is given to those who attended this webinar and other webinars sponsored by PHERC and APCoRE. And membership is valid for 3 years. E-certificate will be given to new members. So please join PHERC. Again, our membership fee is 500 and that's valid for 1 year. And you will receive e-certificates. We also have our announcement. Okay, we have call for papers for the Asia Pacific Higher Education Research Journal. So for more information, please visit the website as reflected on your screen. And some of these information, of course, are available on our Facebook pages of both APCoRE and PHERC. No more announcements, Dr. Don.
Sir Ramsey. Sir Ramsey, would like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Ronald Allen Mabunga, the Vice President for Research, Planning and Quality Assurance of the Philippine Normal University.
Yes.
Is with us.
Thank you for joining us. And another announcement, please submit your paper if you're interested. Okay. APCoRE 2020 virtual conference. So again, this webinar is brought to you by the Philippine Higher Education and Research Consortium and the Asia Pacific Consortium of Educators, of Researchers and Educators.
Okay, kindly turn on the video, please.
Yes. Okay, so we request all participants to please enable your camera or your video cam for a photo opportunity with, of course, our resource speaker this afternoon, Dr. Hiram Ting.
One, two.
Ready? You press that. 1, 2, 3. Next.
Next batch, please.
Next batch.
Okay.
1. Ready? Look at the camera. 1, 2, 3. Okay, very good. Next batch, please. Next batch. 1. Look at the camera. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next batch, please. 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Last batch. Okay. All right.
Okay, Sir Ramsey, go.
All right, so I think we're done. Thank you so much for your participation. Of course, our participants from the Philippines and from other parts of the world. We have participants from Malaysia, Thailand, China, India, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Again, this webinar is made possible by the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium and the Asia Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators. Thank you so much again for your participation, and we are looking forward to seeing you again for webinar series. Have a nice